All right. This should be working. I'm using a microphone. Speaker microphone. Okay, I just need to do audio setting. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Oh, it's not. Okay, now. Test, 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 test. Let's see if it works from over here. Test. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And one more time. I'm sitting over here. Do you still hear me? Looks like you do. All right, cool. Um, Where is my okay. So let's check it. I have to turn on stop video, share screen. Let's see the charts. All right, AS. Super interesting to be Series 82 baby. Got the moon conjunct south node in Capricorn with Mars there. Moons are or south node and moon are on the IC. So that means you have a Cancer north node on your midheaven. Very interesting. So yeah, the Libra rising, everything is reversed. No hard aspects to the moon. Um, just double check that. Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay. So, well, yeah. Okay. And yeah, so okay, sun in okay, so that's a really good mix to have a wow, you have oh my god, welcome to the club. Third person I've ever met that's in the Kazimi Genius Club with me. And you have Jupiter there too. Holy fuck. So you are a smart person. Mm. So look at this. You see 2630 Mercury, 2643 Sun. A Kazimi creates geniuses, um, either geniuses or highly intelligent people. Um, and it has to be basically the way it works is Mercury never moves any more than 28 degrees away from the sun, right? Now, if you have Mercury so close to the sun, like if you have Mercury conjunct sun, like a lot of people have the conjunction, um, but it's actually called combust unless it's within 0.17, right? Combust is basically that the rays of the sun destroy Mercury, they destroy the mind, right? And it's not a bad thing. There's definitely like a lot of very smart people I know who have that combustion. But to have a Kazimi is a superpower. So your Mercury's in Scorpio, um, but can almost give it like a kind of Scorpio slash Gemini vibe for the mind. Like things are very, very quick and you go very, very deep. So that's really cool. And let's see. So that is awesome. I never see that. I don't think I've ever had a client with a Kazimi. And I know one person, I'm not gonna call her my friend. An acquaintance, I guess you could say, who has one, and she's definitely smart. I wouldn't call her a genius, but she's smart. I have Kazimi, and I don't know. I mean, like, how do you define genius? You know what I mean? Like, if it's by IQ, it's just one way of looking at it. Which I'm curious if you are labeled a genius by IQ, but I just think that that's such an outdated like method for intelligence. But I'm so fucking cool. I'm so cool. I'm so fucking cool. Holy fuck. Can we talk about how cool I am? The rest of this reading? Yeah. No, but I just like to know that from my own research. But yeah, I mean, like, who else? I'm just trying to think because I know there's been more than just that one person. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so like basically every person that I've come across or heard of with a Kazimi, they're highly intelligent. And basically Mercury takes on the power of the sun. So instead of the sun burning Mercury, burning the mind, overpowering it, they team up. And it actually, the power of the sun makes that Mercury a superpower. So it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So Scorpio in Capricorn, this is a very karmic connection. These two work very well together. In fact, they're two signs. Now, I must say that having like the Libra rising also, that there is an energy here where you have to watch out for being overly serious. Because Scorpio and Capricorn, like that combo, like that's like extremely powerful. Like I know I've come across a few, one in particular who stands out because he had like everything in Scorpio and Capricorn. Like there was like barely anything else in his chart besides those two signs. And and I've come across lots of people. So it's just like about like not being overly serious, like you will have this like deep probing mind that wants to go deeper, like so deep into things, which is like very, very good. But it's also very good to to have a sense of humor about things and not take life and everything too seriously. I mean, yeah, you want to be serious about life, of course, but you know, like I've noticed that with that configuration that sometimes they can like they sometimes need to like push themselves almost like to really like have like a sense of humor about different things. But this is the thing with a Capricorn moon, it's a very karmic moon placement, right? And basically I always say, Capricorn moons are here to liquefy, go through the process of liquefaction in respect to stuck karmic emotional patterns, right? And with the south node in conjunct the moon, it means that any of these patterns, right? Any of these have been brought over from past lives. So like you're like Capricorn moon. It's a very I have a whole article. It's a lot easier for women in today's world. But like that just comes from like the from like the very bare reality tendency of women, being more sharing of emotions with their friends. And Capricorn moons basically like they can feel very like it can be very, very hard for them to be vulnerable, you know? It can be very, very hard for them to open up. And Scorpio is a very private sign. So those two, they work well together, in the sense that, you know, they sextile each other by element, or by sign. They're two signs away. Um and yeah. And then after that, there's the square, ascendant squares the moon, right? So, but before going into that, like, um you know, brilliant mind, and then Jupiter there like adds even more of like an intuitive, like just a detective energy, you know, psychologist, detective, intuitive, like just all that, right? And then there's like this whole block is opposite Chiron the eighth. So Chiron the eighth and Taurus, you know, I've seen a lot of you know, either issues with vulnerability, um sexual issues. I've seen you know, sexual trauma, not to be too graphic, but you know, I'm gonna call, you know, call it how I see it. You know, because Taurus does rule the body. But it could also be something, you know, way more around you know, just lots of like kind of like self-esteem issues around sexuality, or even around kind of hidden, yeah, around like vulnerability, right? And around like actual kind of emotions that are the true transformational aspects there. And yeah, so that all those opposing the Scorpio energy, it's kind of pushing you to make that change, right? Make, or to like to not make that change, to go towards change, right? To accept change, to let it in. Um, so that's very interesting because, you know, and of course, like being a Scorpio, you know, you are here to evolve, right? You know, you incarnated in this lifetime to really, like with the Capricorn moon, Scorpio being a Scorpio sun. So it's very clear to me that because your South Node is there too, there's been like you know, an imbalance between the the axis of Cancer and Capricorn, which is about, and I say there's been a karmic, like in different past lives, imbalance between the idea of like femininity and masculinity, right? Balancing those two archetypes within yourself, outer life and inner life, you know. And there's a tendency to like kind of go towards one extreme, right? um so yeah, feminine, so, and also like lots of people that have that, there can sometimes be like a feeling of like recent gender switch in this lifetime. um so it can feel like people can feel like they resonate more with the opposite sex that they're born into. But yeah, overall, you know, all those oppositions to Chiron eighth, I think that that's just really kind of the impetus to ask you to you know, to go towards these massive transformations, these Scorpion transformations, and it all goes back to, you know, these kind of imprinted. And the fact that it's on your IC makes me think like the moon is on the IC, it on the South Node. You have a very karmic, like the family you incarnate with. Of course, everyone has karma with their family, but for you, it's like extremely pivotal in your lifetime, right? The family, your mom, dad, family of origin, whatever, siblings, all that. And there's you know, you are literally like and I say this to so many clients, I feel like I attract this energy, like it's, you know, you're carrying a lot of weight, and I feel like you could be the person in your family who's meant to break some type of like, you know, you can call it like a generational curse, um you know, some type of family trauma, right? um it could be anything. So, you know, obviously it's not an easy load, but the Capricorn moon really has to, they can be very self-critical, right? Overly self-critical. And in relationships with themselves and with others, with relationship with self, it ends up projecting to other people, right? And then they can be very hard on themselves, and then that same energy can kind of come out towards others. So the evolved, excuse me, the evolved version of the Capricorn moon is very much related to someone who's leaned into their, especially in your case, your North Node in Cancer, right? Who's leaned into their divine feminine, to their emotions, and who has, with the process of liquefying the crystallized emotional patterns, it's really about, whether it's therapy or whatever it is that gets, because like think about your moon is like what makes you feel secure. It's your emotions. And in Capricorn is ruled by rock. So if you think of the moon as like water, as Cancer, right? You can think of Capricorn moon is like stuck emotions, right? Like rock. So it's like, how can you liquefy the rock, right? And that is, a tough process, but the fact that you're Scorpio, which is a sign that's meant to transform, it's meant to go deep, deep within, it just shows that you incarnated with this purpose, and that the South Node there is that you're doing a lot of this weight for your family, right? You're pulling a lot of weight, I'd imagine. And also, yeah, so it's like inherited emotions that can be like you know very self-limiting, and but there's not always a bad side. I mean, there's no hard aspects to your moon, right? So when there's no hard, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it's square the ascendant, but that's, moon square ascendant, like that's more like, okay, you come off as like this Libra rising, right? I mean, Libra rising, you are Libra rising. Come off like that. You are that. And basically, like, people do not, when they meet you, they do not sense your intensity and that real everything I've talked about so far, right? It's not easily sensible because Libra is very social and very like about balance and peace and all that. It's not a very deep sign, right? I'm not saying that no Libras are deep people. I'm just saying Libra as a rising sign, it will make one come off. So, when it squares your moon, it can create an issue potentially that has to get resolved, where it's like the Libra rising part of you wants to be social, wants to kind of, be very relationship oriented, communicate a lot, and sometimes Libra can be a little bit surface level, but then you're like the ultimate researcher, like you're the ultimate, like going deep, deep, deep within, and probably not really wanting to discuss subjects that are surface level, right? But then that Libra part does like to be included in the social diet, social dialogue, and just like likes to, to talk, and to relationships are very important. So, and then like Capricorn moon can be very isolating, right? Like Capricorn moons can isolate a lot. So that's why they have to learn to talk about their emotions and be vulnerable. They have to. And one of the magical things about Capricorn moons, I get a lot of them. My brother's a Capricorn moon, so I get it really, really well. It's like once they start to like feel a little comfortable, and maybe it's just like that one friend or that one partner, they um they tend to like really fear that process of like, really showing themselves, because they want to keep that appearance of strength. They, and this, I've seen this, like, and by the way, I've seen a lot of women with Capricorn moons who have been more with like the highest vibe of the Capricorn moon than men, right? Like my friend Agnia, she's a Capricorn moon, and Scorpio, like you. Holy shit. and she is like such a, like her energy is just like so like light, you know, it's like almost like I guess her Sag is in Venus, but it's almost like she's more of like a Sag, right? 1 second, did my mic just go out? Something sounds different. Hold on. Hello, 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 hello. Test mic, test mic, test mic. Test mic, test mic. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, share screen. So yeah, anyways, so that's the thing. Capricorn moons, like, they need to learn that it's okay to ask for help and to ask, you know, and to like it's like so hard to get, like, for Capricorn moons, like, but it's like you know, what's like skydiving or something like that, right? It's like once you do it once, I mean, I've never skydove, but once, like, you know, people who are very afraid of it, once they do it once, they tend to like be like, oh, that was nothing, and then they want to do it again. And that's the thing with like emotional, and you know, it's in its detriment position, right? um Moon in Capricorn, because Moon is in, you know, it's in its dignity, meaning it works best, or it's smooth, it's I don't like the words worse or best in astrology, but Moon is, you know, in its dignity sign in Cancer, right? So in Capricorn it's tough, right? But if you can lean into, like, so your North Node, which is representing, like, in your chart, the part of your it's the part, it's and like one thing, um you know, your 1 second. Okay, got it. Okay, so your go back over here. La 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 la. Okay. So yeah, basically, I totally just lost my train of thought, but it'll come back. Yeah, like the Scorpio energy, and you also have, wow, that's so crazy. You also have your Venus in Sag, like my friend. So that's very interesting. But I just lost my train of thought so bad. That's been happening today. It's like it's I don't know why. It's weird, but whatever. It'll come back. But yeah, like I think like the whole North Node in Cancer, right? Like the North Node in astrology obviously represents like the mountain never climbed in past lives, like where you're really trying to. It's like a point where, yeah, you're trying to kind of use the South Node, which, you know, in Capricorn, but it's in the fourth house, right? So Libra rising is really trippy because it flips everything over. I'll explain. So each house, right? First house is usually the house. It's a house that's represented by Aries. Aries is the first house, and it's opposite Libra, which is the seventh house, right? Not to confuse you. So when you have a Libra rising, instead of, it basically makes every so Libra, right, is in its opposite. Like Libra is your first house. First house is represented by Aries, right? In every chart, right? It's just like there's a link. So, and then, you know, your second house is Scorpio. The second house is the house of Taurus, right? Or, you know, closely linked to Taurus. It basically creates this real duality. It's very trippy, Libra rising, where you have these like these very this perspective, like this real dual perspective on life, right? Like it's really, really interesting, Libra rising. And as opposed to, like, let's say if you had I don't want to be confusing you. I don't know your level of astrology, but like if you had like an Aries rising, right? Then you would have every single, like, Aries rising people. It's like, you know, it's they have like if they're a Taurus sun, they have a second house Taurus sun, you know, and then in whole sign at least, right? And the second house is house of Taurus. If they're you know, let's say their Venus is in Pisces, it would be in the 12th house. In the 12th house of the house of Pisces. So you see it gets flipped over for the Libra rising folks. That's very interesting. But anyways, so yeah, like tons of energy like in that fourth house. So there's so much going on with like the family, right? Like I was saying before. So much going on with the family, and there, you know, it could be like even something like not being able to like show love, right, or affection, um right, or it could be just like some trauma that was in the bloodline, um that leads to some type of behavior. Like it's very, it's hard to like, that's not what I do. I give you like, the potentials, and I just checked to see if you had a follow-up. I saw you didn't, but nearly everyone gets a reading with me with a follow-up, and then also a current astrology reading. So you can let me know if you want to do that. I'll give you a massive discount for that, compared to the regular price. And that it's not like a long wait like this one is, which, by the way, thank you so much for your patience and like crazy time. But it's basically like my next available appointment date, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there, and it'd be, I actually, usually it's 3 hours. But I actually did my first one ever that was I've been doing things in less time lately. I'm very proud of myself because I cannot continue to do these 2 hour readings. So I'm like getting really good. I've like figured out some ways to like deliver the same everything in the same way in just less time, right? But regardless, like yeah, it's like you know, uh it's like a first hour or around that, as long as it takes is the follow-up where we go over the natal chart, right? And then after that, it's all your current astrology, which is like completely different than this. Everything is always changing. How is it affecting you? How is like what are your main transits? Where's the progressed moon? What's your progressed moon cycle? How is it reflecting your current life, right? So I call it current astrology / spiritual alignment. So usually these two together would be around like 550 or something, I forget exactly, 560, 580, I forget. But I would be happy to give you like a huge discount to where it would be uh um so you have to remind me of this. If you're down for this, I'd be happy to do it for. Wait, hold on one second. For 370 plus the taxes, which is probably like $10. So just remind me I told you that figure. And yeah, that one is like to get the full Jesse astrology experience. I highly recommend that. But if like people are in different financial situations and whatnot, and also there's never a limit. Like I told you that people need time with these readings. They need time to kind of take them in, if it's like, especially if it's their first reading. Because I get really, really deep with the karmic stuff. So anyways, continuing. So yeah, like having the North Node, right? Like on the midheaven in Capricorn, it's an opposite. I talked about the gender stuff, but you're being called to, so there could definitely have been a tendency to flip flop. And I keep hearing this thing, but I'm just like wondering like why it's not sounding like it should. Let me just turn my camera on for a second. Let me see my French face, my French football shirt. Let's see here. Oh, yes. So okay, why is it making so it sounds hello, hello, hello? Usually there's like a sound I hear. Okay. Whatevs. Okay, anyways, so I'll go with camera on a little bit. So basically, like, looking at this chart, very like the biggest takeaway that's like very like so extremely obvious to me is that you're here to go deep within yourself. I know it sounds cliche, like a duh, like who isn't? No, not everyone is, right? Because of the South Node in Capricorn just by itself, yeah, it's in the fourth house. There could have easily been a tendency, especially since it squares the ascendant and descendant, right? The whole nodal axis does. So that's also bringing relationships and independence into the framework, right? And it's when we look at the ruler of the South Node, because we need more information. Well, Saturn rules the South Node in the first house conjunct Pluto, and the North Node is ruled by the Moon, which is obviously Capricorn. So, so what would that equate to if the ruler of the North Node is conjunct the South Node? Repeated lesson, repeated karmic lesson. You're trying to get this right? You're trying to, and there is that familial aspect, but like on a personal level, it's about the big, like if the big takeaway is that you are a Scorpio for a reason, you're Capricorn moon for a reason, and your North Node's in Cancer for a reason. Your North Node's in Cancer because you're trying to have a spiritual relationship with yourself, but also really, really taking charge of your life and not depending on others to kind of come to your aid, in the sense of like also career, very important, and how that can be a conduit for you to truly feel that energy in the best way possible. Now, it would, usually speak to a career, or that I don't like the word career for midheaven. I like dharma, right? Because like it could literally be that you're not meant to have a career. You're meant to like just be a mother, or be someone who's deeply spiritual, or someone who's just like their main dharma is around what's happening within themselves, and that they have these karmic circumstances, their life set up in a certain way. Like I'm getting so good at this. Like I was gonna guess that you had a second house Jupiter without even seeing it. Like I swear, I was gonna guess, and I guess like now that I think about it, I already mentioned, but it wasn't in my head. Maybe it was subconsciously, but like that is literally the financial guardian angel, and you're fucking brilliant. So, and your son's in second house. So like usually people who have sons in second house, like they have no problem when it comes with money. I tend to see people with those charts. It's more important for them to overcome kind of like the energy, the more difficult internal energy, and that's 100,000% what I think it is here. So you're giving this chart to really get deep and to like I said, liquify, bring emotion, bring liveliness, bring, be able to cry, if you're able to cry, if you're able to fully unleash your emotions, if you're able to be vulnerable with people, if you're able to admit that you're weak, right? And then that like you are achieving like a goal that is like so massive in your karma. And then on top of that, there's more Capricorn moon, right? The Scorpio, the reason you're Scorpio is because that's a sign of the death, rebirth, transformation, right? And the Cazimi is a very, it's like amazing karma, right? Like you're a very like intelligent soul. Like your level of soul intelligence is super, super, super elevated, that you're definitely an advanced, what I would call an advanced soul. Because this isn't like what I would say, like having a Capricorn moon isn't easy. And to have the nodes on angles like this is a big deal, right? So I'm not saying that your chart is like so fucking hard. I mean, there's very few hard aspects. The only hard aspect really like is the Chiron opposing your your Sun Mercury, right? And also your Venus. So like that could be a father wound also could play into that, right? The Chiron Taurus, just like something that yeah made you feel, I already talked about that earlier, but just like less like just self-esteem issues could have been very, very very common, right? And you have to really overcome those. Yoga, anything somatic is really, really good. Getting into earth, working with your hands, and like gardening, stuff like that. And making sure you don't like overcompensate by like following the materialistic path, because with a South Node in Capricorn, I know I can talk as fast as I want to with you, because I know you're gonna get all this stuff with that Cazimi. That could also speak to a tendency of like being too materialistic, having a past life tendency to be too in the material world too, and also but the way I get more, I get more of a hit of like too hard on yourself, and just like whatever way Cancer Capricorn it is, there needs to be a balance of a female and masculine energy in your life, right? There's lives where you go too far on one side and then too far on the other, right? So how do you bring those two? I'm not talking about the gender, obviously. I'm talking about the energies, right? Like air and fire are masculine energies, water and earth are feminine energies, right? So yeah, you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, people kind of Taurus, sometimes they don't feel beautiful in their own skin, and yeah, but it's I swear, like so many of my clients have Chiron Taurus, like lately, especially. And yeah, like a lot, yeah, like ATAS Chiron also can be like I talked about a lot of it, like yeah, like so feeling inadequate, so sexually, like I talked about some of the other stuff, but also there's this real healer part where there's these deep underlying like potential pains, and also this ability to really feel into like the undercurrent of other people's pain, but maybe feel it yourself too much and take on things that aren't yours. But it can make you a very intuitive healer. So, and with North Node on your midheaven in Cancer, like you could be someone who's really meant to help heal people, on like an emotional level, right? Because it's Cancer. It could also be real estate. There's lots of possibilities. Move forward, like forward, and I for me it's like a jigsaw, not jigsaw. What the fuck? Rubik's cube. When I do my readings, but it all makes sense. It all comes together. So yeah. So having the Saturn ruling the South Node, and I'll go back to I'm sorry, you can't see my pretty face anymore. Just kidding, it's not so pretty. I'm not a female. I don't think men. I think females are just objectively just like, even like it's just like you cannot even, I don't know, just like how could anyone, I understand like yeah, like a heterosexual woman will find it attractive, but even a heterosexual woman, how can you like think men are better, more beautiful than women? Like they'll never ever mix. I mean, I get it, but like I don't know. Like, yeah. But anyways, so I want to look for something really quick because this is pretty rare, and to have the ruler of the South Node, I mean the North Node, conjunct the South Node. Yeah, so this is what it says in this book I have, and I've never read this before. Like, I mean, I've never like read, like I've never had this in a reading, I don't think. If the ruler of the north node and of the moon is conjunct the south node of the moon, right? The ruler of your north node is ruled by Cancer, and Cancer is conjunct your south node, right? We see that the very quality that facilitates the evolutionary intentions, which is the ruler of the north node, is being brought in through the karmic past. And as such, indicates a capacity to bring in past gifts or blocks to growth, which literally goes exactly with what I was saying with that Capricorn moon. The essence of this signature, whether helpful or restrictive, is the necessity to repeat the past because the prior karmic energy around the issues symbolized by the planet conjunct the south node is so strong. Let me repeat that. The essence of this, whether helpful or restrictive, is the necessity. And I basically said this exact same thing, right? Like to repeat the past because the prior karmic energy around the issues symbolized by the planet conjunct the south node, the moon in Capricorn, are so strong. So that is double, triple validation that this is like very karmic Capricorn moon, like you know, and it's in the fourth house too. So, you know, that there's all this energy in your chart that's pulling you. Do you see me right now? There you go. It's that's pulling you towards yourself within. But there's like an effort that's been very hard for you to make in past lives. And there's been ways that you've been able to circumvent, right? There's been ways where you've been able to circumvent that necessary process, such as making money, like would be like a today's kind of value, you know, like a comparison, a modern day comparison. Being more in the material world as opposed to the spiritual, be more you know, like it's squaring the you know, the ascendant, like potentially like relationships defining you too much, right? Codependency, or the opposite where it's, you know, ascendant square, where it's like you know, in some way, shape, or form, there's also a need to balance out, right? Because when you have your node on an angle, and then the other, you know, like these, the ICs opposite the midheaven at 5, and then if the ascendant and descendant are you know, very close, they're not always like this close, then you've got some major stuff going on, right? So you know, in that case, like it brings up like another karmic issue around relationship or single, and the need to balance that out, right? Like the extreme of codependency versus the extreme of like, I don't give a fuck or shit about anyone. Like fuck it, you know, like I'm just gonna do me, like no compromise, no possibilities for compromise, right? So like that's all super important. You know, Saturn here ruling all this energy from the first to the fourth, you know, conjunct Pluto. It's really asking you to push forward despite any restrictions, and to just always move forward, to always, like, because with all this Capricorn energy, your first, you know, 29 and a half years were probably very filled with tons, so karmic. And after Saturn return, you probably felt a deep rebirth, right? Around, you know, like that happens at 29 and a half typically. And yeah. So it's just that, you know, with the Saturn there, you know, it's bringing up this idea, right, of what ways do you restrict yourself? Because now we're getting clues. And then what, you know, Saturn, you know, it's conjunct Pluto. So the ruler of the South Node is conjunct Pluto. Wait, was that in there too? Hold up. I don't think so. I don't think that was. There's no way. Yeah. Wow. It is. No, it isn't. Um. Um. Or let's see. So you. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of like it's all about awareness, you know? It's all about awareness and action, but there's also a lot of like of potential latent talents that you may have manifested already or maybe you haven't. Um those are completely in there. This is like the chart of someone who is like extremely talented, but they are their own worst enemy potentially, right? But because I see like this karmic resistance, I imagine that like this Pluto, you know, this Capricorn moon has been very, you know, is some, it's probably a moon sign you've had for lots of lifetimes. I'm just skimming something really quick. Yeah. So more often than not, the planetary function will represent something that's partly realized, but also partly unresolved and restricted. The planet conjunct the South Node will always represent something directly experienced in the past being brought forward into the life of the individual and present. So it's like, yeah, a lot of like the emotional stuff you go through in this life, it's very karmic. It's being brought back from the past. So all like, you know, this goes without saying, because you're, you know, it's your fourth house is with the South Node, the fourth house. Like I already said this, like your family, it's super, super karmic. And the reason that you have the family you do, it could even be some type of replay situation, which I don't think I've said that before. Like really, but it could it like 1,000%. It's to like fully, and this I guess it goes for like most people like to an extreme for you to replicate this exact karma, right? So mom, dad, like yeah. So yeah, it says as experience comes in from the past, the early childhood will often be a primary mode of expression of the issues that are symbolized of this planet. Okay, that's interesting. So basically, that kind of adds like a new, yeah. That's the thing that so now that I looked at that, because that kind of adds like a new element, right? Where because it is in your fourth house, right? And you have so much of the fourth house, like a lot would have, you know, like most of the energy let's show it again. You know, most of the energy in your chart is it's down here, right? It's down here. So like that, people who have charts like this, is like their life. If they, you know, you know, if there's like a biography, autobiography about their life, the main events or the main, if you have a lot of planets above the horizon, it's events that would be like the biggest parts of the book. But if they're beneath, it's more of like inner realizations and such, right? So yeah. Um, so we'll circle back around, but I'm really trying to like paint this picture in your mind of how I see this, right? Now I love this. I love this second house, right? Venus and Sag, 0 degrees. It's almost like, you know, conjunct Pallas, 0 degrees. It's like that will give conjunct Uranus like a love for traveling, like holy shit. If you're not someone who is absolutely like in love with traveling, I would just be like completely fascinated. Although although like the fact that you are Capricorn Moon, Scorpio Sun, that's not a traveler combo, but like with all that Sag energy, like I just like I don't know, like every person I know with a Sag Venus, yeah, every single one loves traveling. I've never met someone with Sag Venus that doesn't love traveling, doesn't love like wisdom. It doesn't have this real philosophical. And the fact that it's 0 degrees Sag, I love that because that like with conjunct Pallas, it's like that gives you this ability to kind of kind of well, first of all, it can be really, really good for creativity, right? And for kind of being like a spokesperson for causes you care about and so forth. But also, and with Uranus's presence, right, it brings a lot of excitement to your love life. You have to watch out to not be too much of a spendthrift, right? You have to like really be careful of your finances and take time before making like, you know, decisions because money can come in one hand, but then you have the Jupiter in the second house, which is like the financial guardian angel. You know, I always tell people like they lose their job 1 week and then 2 weeks later their friend messages them that they haven't talked to in 2 years. Hey, I have a you know, I'm at this company, I have a position that opened up and ends up being like 2 times better pay and, you know, better work-life balance and all these things, or they get like a great opportunity. I don't know. It's just it's very good for money, basically. And the sun, the second house, it also is good there. It's just like very, very important that that's not dominant, that there's like an equal balance between like your values and your and kind of like I guess your personal moral code, spiritual, physical. There has to be balance. If there's too much physical, then that's not good. But yeah, like I think yeah, with all the Sag, that adds like a lot of fun and a lot of flavor, and you know, this real kind of mutability that the chart needs, right? This ability to go with the flow, because if it was just all Scorpio in Cap, then you have someone that might be, you know, very, very, very stubborn and stagnant and overly serious. But Sag is the party sign. It is very fun, and 0 degrees is kind of like the Fool card in tarot, where it's like a white piece of paper, right? Like, you know, you trial and error. It's all about trial and error. So with love, you know, you're meant to, you know, kind of go out and you know, in Venus and Sag, people tend to be very attracted to people from different cultures. So if you ever get an astrocartography reading with me, make sure to remind me about the importance of the Venus lines for you, because of like how Venus and Sag, like how it could be, you know, people from those lines that, but you could very well be married. So yeah, I also do compatibility readings if that's the case. But yeah, like, you know, with that combination, and then Uranus, I think that you're someone who is exceptionally brilliant, exceptionally forward thinking, and maybe you're like me in relationships where, you know, freedom is so important in individuality. But I think with the Scorpio, you know, that's very, very, very intimate. But where you have like different ideas of like what relationship should look like. I don't know if you saw my post, the Aquarian relationship. That's like an ideas I've had for a long time. Uh, like energetic resets between you and your partner, lots of space. You know, not sharing bedrooms. It goes on. You can read the post. It's probably from like 3-4 weeks ago. I don't know. But yeah, so that third house is nice. It also brings lots of interesting energy with siblings. I'm curious about that. There could be some very, very interesting energy there, potentially even confusion, but then also Venus, you know, third house, it's just going to give lots of, you know, lots of love. And but you know, Neptune, Uranus could be very, very special siblings, but there can also be, yeah, some confusion around those relationships. Some people I've seen with Neptune third, they have like siblings they didn't know about, so it's very interesting. But it could also be like really like people that give them like access to these different energies, these like very spiritual energies. yeah, so I think overall, like the Sag house, third house, it's also about your brain, your mind, right? So to have Venus there, you'd be a very amazing poet, very amazing writer, right? Especially Venus conjunct Pallas. Like you're an amazing strategist. You see the big picture and you execute, right? Like you see the big picture and then you see the zoomed in picture. And then with your Mars in Capricorn, you're able to go solid, constant. Now, with that said, this is the big warning, and this actually gives more clue into this karmic story, is Black Moon Lilith is in Capricorn conjunct Mars, which is very much like the potential for going over the top when it comes to power, right? So you really have to like look at your relationship to power. And I'm not making any claims, by the way. And what's it about, right? What's it about? Because with the Chiron opposite Sun, there could be issues of feeling powered and then disempowered, right? And if that healing doesn't happen, it could Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn, like I was saying earlier, it can make someone so obsessed with like climbing the ladder and just like getting to the top that they're willing to step over other people. Let's just show me for just show me. So and then like just so much energy, like Vesta fifth house Aquarius, like you just have like also like there's this real commitment to like causes you care about and to your own individuality and working towards your own individuality. And I think a fifth house Vesta, it makes one able to make their their creative projects their work, and what they hold a lot of dedication to what they create, even children, right? Their children, if they have children. With North Node in Cancer, I don't think everyone North Node in Cancer is meant to have kids, right? I think that they're meant to move because it's in 10th. They're meant. I've already gone way into detail about that, but some are meant to just learn a lot about their emotional selves and have that spiritual relationship with themselves, and then in your case, use that Sagittarius energy, which is the teacher, to teach it to other people in some way, right? But so this is like very interesting. And Juno's also exactly conjunct Mars. So, you might be very attracted to someone who's foreign, but also someone who you have a lot of respect for and who has a lot of self-respect, and who, maybe they're a little bit older, but they definitely have to have like a mix of like fun, adventure, adventure kind of energy, very philosophical. Like there has to be like kind of that philosophical, there should be that philosophical because you value that, right? And maybe like just that worldview of someone from a different culture. Like my girlfriend's Romanian, I'm French, French American, whatever, but basically Romanian at this point. But like even before I met her, like pretty much I like I grew up in the U.S. Like I pretty much never dated I always dated girls who were not American. Just I don't know. So, and that's a very Sagittarian thing, right? I'm a Sag moon. So, but like with the intellect, right, and the mind, it's important. One thing that's important is a Scorpio, and with the third house Neptune, is to watch out how you might merge your energy, like thoughts and all that. Like you can take on other people's thoughts. So it's important to understand that and to really protect your energy well. But having that Cazimi is just and then Jupiter protecting that sun, like that just gives you this massive aura, right? This massive aura, which can lead to jealousy, right? Especially Pluto in the first house, being a Scorpio, you'll have this very like magnanimous, like just this very, very this presence that people feel, and the Libra comes in handy there, right? Because it's a way less intimidating type of energy than it would be if you were like, I don't know, like if this is like in like all in the first house, or like, I don't know, Cap rising or something like that, right? So yeah, but it's interesting that Pluto and Saturn are together. I know it's generational, but their exact degree, and just the fact that the South Node is ruled by Saturn and then Pluto's conjunct it, it's just speaking to like the difficulty that you've had in past lives to overcome to truly take these risks. And in this life, now you're being pulled with that opposition of Chiron to the Sun and to Venus and to Mercury. Now you're being pulled by events and people and circumstances, right? So anything that's happened that could have, seem horrible for or whatever, like it happened for a reason. And I tell people that, and that's what the chart's showing me. I don't know anything about you. I've never seen a photo of you. I purposely do that. I don't like look at any of my clients till after, right? So there is that kind of energy there, right? Of like the need to transform, but also like to succeed, So it's like how to blend that perfect balance of materiality and success in the human realm with the spiritual realm, right? Because like as with all that Capricorn energy, like you're going to be someone that wants to be successful and that strives for that in whatever they do. And one great thing about Capricorn in general and just Capricorn moon is that they at their highest are so loyal, and they like honor. They're so like they have so much honor, right? And they're so reliable, and you can just count on them, right? Like they just have this energy where um they want to succeed, but in something that they truly care about. So it's not being obsessed with money and proving people wrong. It's really that balance between the inner and the outer, right? And also they are very wise, right? Like Capricorn go, because you have to go through so many trials and tribulations because you're Saturn ruled energy, right? You become this very wise, mature person early on who can help other people. But the thing with Capricorn is them seeing that in themselves, which is the tricky part, right? But yeah, like very, very reliable, responsible, and yeah, good leaders, good teachers, and very, very good at like controlling their emotions in like in key times, I've noticed. But once again, like the most important part is being in touch with at least enough with their emotions and to not overwork, because that's a big tendency for Capricorn. And yeah, we see that with your Black Moon Lilith, but that can become a superpower if that work is something that nurtures you emotionally, right? If that is the case, then beautiful. But yeah, it's really about work-life balance is really important in your chart too. So yeah. Wow, 0.03. Okay. So let's check this. Oh yeah, well, you have your series on my moon. Oh, how adorable. Same degree. So Sirius and Sag, well, that Sirius is almost like a second moon, but not even close to strong, of course. But basically, that is someone who in the third house, they just love information. They have this need. They feel nurtured by wisdom. They feel nurtured by them improving. Sorry, I keep doing this. Allergies. Improving their worldview. Like when they increase their awareness, their worldview, that's when they feel nurtured, and they're able to offer that gift to others and be very, very good at communicating as well. And then Venus, with Palace, that's just like all about like that empathy for others, being driven by like a strong sense of values, right? So it's speaking to like any kind of cause or mission that appeals to you, like that's what you need to follow, right? And being, having the Libra rising, it's very diplomatic already. This helps with that. And it's, once again, just very, very good for strategy. And doing things that might be controversial in a non-confrontational way. If that makes sense, right? That helps other people. So you can be very good at like winning the respect of other people by appealing to their sense of values. And yeah, it's just very, very good for social skills and empathy for others, and kind of combining the third eye with the heart, kind of, right? So yeah, it can make someone who's very, very strategic and but does it from a good place. Now, third house Uranus, if you're a writer or someone who writes, like you can get downloads through your communications. It's such a cool placement. I love it. And it's very like common for geniuses, like just very like original thinker, like outside the box thinker, right? So it's yeah, like yeah. And then Neptune, of course, like when you write, that's why I encourage you to write as much as possible, or make videos or whatever, like, because you will get downloads when and you create it's like through, like when you're writing or when you're talking, like you can tap into like like spirit, so yeah, like having a creative outlet is super important and super huge. But there can also be some kind of like scattered mind syndrome also with Neptune the third, so you gotta watch out for that. All right, Pluto first is very interesting, because obviously it makes a leader, someone who's always challenging themselves. Usually there's that that embrace for change, but being Pluto first house is the ultimate battle between soul and ego. And this is like such a big theme here, right? Because like there's so much, I can't believe this is the first time I'm saying this word in this reading. There's so much surrender that's needed in this chart. There's so much surrender, and I guess I've already alluded to it, but like so much surrender and connection with others, other healers, right? And remember, like I'm giving you this chart, you could have like done all this work. Like I would say the same if you're 20, 18, 25, whatever, right? So that's super interesting. But yeah, like that's the ultimate test there. And yeah, Pluto first house, it's interesting. Don't go be like risk taker too much. And I think Saturn the first can calm that down a little bit too, but it can also kind of make someone a little bit more shy early on in life. So I imagine like you really like kind of opened up after Saturn return. I already said that, but like this kind of adds to that. But Saturn first house, there's like a feeling of like inadequacy early in childhood, and almost like being like too responsible, too reliable, and sometimes they don't get to feel like they we're children, and that's a very Capricorny energy, right? Is to grow up too quick, to like almost like be like a mature adult when you're like super young. So that leads to the fact that let me check. Nope. Yeah, like the importance of you to lean into that into that Sag Venus, that fire energy that you have, that inner child. That's very important for you to lean into that. And your power of fortune in Leo in the 11th is speaking about how important it is for you to have goals, but also friends and groups and all that bring out that inner child, that bring out that creativity, that bring out that authentic version of you, and that push you away from that potential past life, trying to appease others, right? Trying to like the Capricorn moon, like sometimes can just care way too much about what other people think, right? So it's just about just not giving a shit. And it's very much like a shadow work, a chart of deep shadow work. but also like I always say with charts like this, like there's a need. Humor is the highest energy, not deflecting with humor, but like, and that's why the Sag is so nice because it will add that, but not taking, healing, all this stuff, like, live your life, right? Sometimes the biggest healing happens when you just have like a random relationship or a random friendship, you know? It's just about awareness and taking responsibility. Anyways, yeah, so as I was saying with the love stuff, you definitely, it's that mix of Capricorn and Sag, and the Aries ascendant, vertex right on there. So yeah, you'll learn a lot through the sign Aries, people who might have that zodiac sign in relationships, and you'll learn a lot. Your doorway to higher awareness is really through new beginnings, through being independent, through leaning into that fire energy. So just back to what I said, with the Sag, Leo, well, Aries too, right? Just going for it, like just going for it, just saying fuck it, like I'm going for it. And so many successful people, like I don't even have to like talk about success because it's like written all over your chart. And you've been here, done that with success. So yeah, there's definitely some witch energy too. But yeah, before that, like basically like the fact that the South Node is conjunct Juno lightly, it's lots of karma in terms of like your partners for sure, and the node squaring the descendant. Yeah, so that stuff will be very karmic. All right, so let me pull the asteroids. Oh yeah, I guess Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter and Scorpio. You have it. Oh, on Serpentis. So that's like the Alchemist. Serpentis is like probably like one of the worst degrees in astrology is around 22 Scorpio, but having Jupiter there turns it around. See, I guess for you it's like 21.47. Let me actually look this up because I haven't seen that before. But yeah, it's way better than having your Mars there. Let me tell you that much. Okay, so Jupiter conjunct it. Okay, it's not much. That probably just hypocrisy, deceit, banishment. So these are like sometimes like very, very like old definitions. So it's like you kind of gotta take it with a grain of salt. Especially like these more like these are like very like these aren't like very well known stars. And they're kind of just cherries on top, right? Unless I tell you like this is like a mega one, like a royal star. Okay, so let's just start from here. Okay. So psyche's involved. So that's interesting. That's going to give you just this real fascination with understanding how things kind of work with humans and you know yeah, it's two outers there, but you know, you definitely are someone who it's in yeah, so I guess it's connected to yeah, to Pluto. So just yeah, just really just like illumination, just really like really wanting to like look in the darkest places and and go through, it completely relates to that energy of that we the main theme here, right? Of the cat moon. So yeah, let's see. Also, another thing about Psyche is that like it kind of reminds us of the power we have to change and achieve what we truly want within ourselves. So yeah. Um it's interesting. Yeah, really, really, really someone who wants to expand their awareness and do it. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so so also, okay, I'm just gonna show you for a second what I'm looking at, so you know, like why I'm just like, like just imagine doing this. Like I'm trying to determine like like which numbers are which, but I've become very good at it. But I have to stare at my computer very close. Um, yeah, I guess I didn't really talk that much about Jupiter Scorpio, but that's just like even more psychic energy, intuitive energy, and the fact that you have it conjunct your Sun, your Mercury, uh, Jupiter on Mercury. I kind of talked about that already. Like it just gives you like a very broad perspective. So it adds even more of that intelligence, but you have like the big picture. So Scorpio sometimes can be too like zoomed in, but Jupiter gives you like the mountaintop perspective, and you get both basically. And then with the Sun, it just gives like a very like large, yeah, not ego, it can, but like a large aura, and Jupiter and Scorpio on its own, it just makes one fascinated with occult, esoteric, sexuality, anything taboo, anything underground, anything hidden they love. Death, it's good for a long life. um yeah, so okay. So also you could be someone that works with different herbs. And yeah, you can also like, with the Neptune on the galactic center, like that is just like such a psychic placement. Like you are able to, it's like a black hole, and you're able to like just get, especially like when you're grounded meditating, you're able to just like, let's say, like it's very like if you like I would imagine that you um you know what's it called? I can never remember what it's called. I have it where you just know things. Uh, Whatever, the psychic power where you just know. Um, ooh, also Moon conjunct Juno is really nice, and it's gonna give you, and then Mars conjunct Moon too. I didn't really go into that. Like that will help, and your Mars is on Vega, which is interesting. I think that Haley would say that'd make you a Lyrian starseed. Um, but yeah, like the Mars on the moon is going to give you more willpower to want to do everything that I've spoken about this whole reading about the moon in Capricorn. But also like it's just like the biggest thing for you is to understand high versus low Capricorn, and every day to look and to ask yourself like, and not be perfectionist. Remember, you have to be your own best friend, right? Um, Self-compassion is so important. All right, but like Juno on the moon, you definitely can it just adds like a very kind of like a lot of warmth, a lot of emotional warmth to moon in Capricorn, which can be not that warm. Um so it also makes like bonds with women very important to you. And just emotional bonds in general. So it's very interesting that that the moon, with the Capricorn moon. So I think this is like Juno is here to try to help you with this thing that's been difficult for you in past lives. And yeah, it's also like very like humanitarian, and it's just a really good placement for meeting your emotional needs, right? Through like connection with others. Um, so it's really good for especially for everything that I've spoken about. Um, this mic's kind of heavy. I can, but let's see. Okay. Oh, nearly all the planets are there. But yeah, North Node is on the midheaven. Nothing there. Okay, let's open this one up. Oh yeah, I said. So, yeah, so like Vega is like yeah, Alpha Lyra. Um it's a big deal. It's an important star in the constellation of Lyra or Lyra. 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 Um so when you have your Mars conjunct it, how close is it? Also, okay, yep, another one. Okay. No, ultra. Okay, so oh, it's 2 degrees away. So Juno is actually like exactly conjunct Mars. That's what I but like yeah, Vega's still there, but it's not like a super it's not it's like kind of it's still conjunct, but it's not like crazy conjunction. But Juno conjunct Mars is just gives someone's like a very strong drive towards relationships. And yeah, you could be interested in someone like older, more mature. You're but like definitely like a big need for security and uh on the emotional and on like the kind of not financial, but just like just security, whatever that means to you. And real foundations for relationship. So then through after those foundations, you can have all that fun. Um, so yeah, Mars in Vega, it's is it a 2 degree orb? It is oh wait. Oh, yeah. 15 of 13. Oh, so it's closer because it's 13.54. So it's basically, yeah, it's actually only like a degree, a little bit over a degree away. So what it says, scientific interests, unpopular opinions, moral courage, favorable for gain. And then it says 2 degree orb. these people can function in a dual manner. They get extra energy to perform tasks that require strength and physical agility. So it's like really athletic, like where you want to test yourself like physically, running up mountains and all that stuff. They are mountain and tree climbers and people who enjoy swimming marathons. They generally have several endurance objectives as a challenge to their physical stamina, but often more than not, they enjoy and are found in mountainous areas, climbing rocks and boulders to get from one point to another. It's so interesting. So it's good to test the physical endurance, and you don't have any difficult aspects to Mars. If you did, I would tell you because that would speak to potential injuries from that. But no, yeah. So that's interesting. Maybe do a triathlon. If you already do, I'd be like not surprised, but I would love to hear that. Oh, and then one other thing. I think is this under. Okay, is that okay? So I don't know if I'll find anything about this or if anything exists. So you're getting it. Yeah, so it's just so important. Like it's not easy to, you um, to be someone, with the Capricorn moon where it's like a repeated karmic story, and I get it, but like everything in your chart, like it's making me think that there's such good karma that it's so set up for you that you might be hearing this reading and resonating and feeling like, wow, like maybe because like a lot of Capricorn moons, sometimes they'll downplay their achievements. I've noticed that, right? They can be like they expect so much from themselves that sometimes they see themselves as like here and other people here. This is more Virgo, but Capricorn also. But in reality, they're here, they're there. Not to like create a hierarchy, but just as a metaphor, I speak in metaphoric terms. Okay, I'm looking for something. There's probably nothing on it, but yeah, I don't know anything about Chiron conjunct Algol. I don't think anyone's ever spoken about it, but I just think like combining everything, it just in the eighth house, it just speaks about even further to these transformational powers and the potential for things to have been ugly at some point, but Algol and Serpentis are both activating your chart, and these are the two really rough parts. Of course, Jupiter's on your Serpentis, so it's like, you know, I think herbs like and magic and rituals and all that could be something that could be very prominent for you, and like very witch energy, and even having Black Moon Lilith conjunct Mars is on that vibe too, and the other dark moon Waldermath Lilith, being on your Venus and Sag could speak, to you know, and then Venus being conjunct Uranus, which I'll end on this in love, you know, it could speak to kind of like the potential lower tendency being around um not being, it's not being reliable, but it's being like too changeable in terms of you know, your needs and what in your desires in terms in the department of love. So and with Uranus conjunct Venus in Sag, you know, even with that, like there's a split, right, that's created between you know, the part of you that wants you know, the Scorpio kind of Capricorn, it's all about foundations, right? Um but then Sag is about like, let's just go with the flow and see what happens. And you know, with Uranus, it is you know, needs people who have that, they need space, right? They don't do well in traditional relationships. So I wonder how that plays out. And you know, in terms of aspect patterns, um, hold on. Yeah, so mm, 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 mm. I guess like the last thing I'll say is this, you know, because like the T square, there's no T square between you know, you aspect patterns don't get created with like the midheaven and the ascendant. Because you can't look at the sky and say, oh, that's the midheaven, that's the ascendant. The whole point of aspect patterns is like it's light reflecting from the planets. But like just generally speaking, like, you know, the healing you know, like like if we do take like, you know, moon here, north node in midheaven here, and those, you know, these are like hypothetical points, and then ascendant here, which is another, you know, non-planet, and then the moon and Mars, you know, it creates a hypothetical T square, right? But they're all parts of your chart that are like, you know, part of this whole grand scheme. So if we talk about healing, a T square shoots out like a bow and arrow into the opposite part. And I think it's beautiful to end this reading that T square um, shoots out in Aries in the seventh house, because it shoots out, and you could even look at it as a grand cross, because yeah, you know, it's also squaring the descendant. But you know, either way you take it, um, it's basically just about the investment in a nurturing relationship. It's in the like nurturing relationship that gives you power, Aries, independence, Aries, while still having peace, balance, and just like assurance, Libra, right? Uh, in a relationship that all of this say, you know, that you can feel so safe, and all this fourth house energy wants that home, it wants that beautiful home, it wants that nurturing space. So that is very important to you, I imagine. All right. Also, I didn't see Sun square Vesta, so that's kind of speaking about just like how important it is to ensure like kind of like I was saying before, like yoga, daily yoga, daily rituals, whatever it is, right? You like health, that you look after yourself on the day-to-day basis, right? So yeah, meditation, exercise, this types of things would be very, very useful. Um, oh, and then I talked about that. And then and then like just like moon like opposite like midheaven. Um, like I think your career in Dharma, whatever you want to call it, will be it's very karmic, but at the same time, to have like the maximum success, and I'm not saying that in a monetary way, um, involves fully resolving and liquefying the Capricorn moon, as it opposes the midheaven. And the South Node opposes the midheaven. So there's been, this has happened before. So remember, relationships that give you the ability to be independent yet still feel very, very at peace and harmonious. That's huge. That's your vertex. And I will leave you there. Let me know about, oh my God, 135. I'm just proud of myself when I keep it under like under 2 hours. I'm trying to do 90-minute readings. Yeah, so let me know about the other reading. I highly recommend it. Everyone that gets it loves it. We talk, we have like a long chat. We connect. It's beautiful. I truly love those. So let me know, and if you're interested, we can book a time. So I'll talk to you later. Ciao. All right.